Hello people and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 worst things that have happened to us on our travels. As you know, we absolutely love travelling and we don't want any of these stories to put you off or anything like that. We just thought it'd be kind of clickbaity. So. No, seriously, we did another video similar to this, the 5 mistakes we made in El Nido in the Philippines, and everyone loved that. So we like to give you guys what you want to hear, and obviously you want to hear about bad stuff happening to us. You know, it always makes the best stories, so we're going to tell them. Okay, so we have 5 top bad stories, and we're going to start with the least bad of the 5 until going up to number 1, which is the worst story, the one I love to tell, because frankly, when bad stuff happens to you abroad, it's always really awful at the time, but afterwards it makes the best stories. So we'll start with number 5. Okay, number 5, getting scammed in Cambodia, or actually people trying to scam us in Cambodia. So we made a whole video about this, which you can watch here. But basically, when we were taking the crossing from Thailand to Cambodia, you know, we took the bus, so it took quite a while, and people tried to scam us. I think in the end, at the end of the day, it was 7 times, 7 different scams, and we only fell for 2 of them, so we were really pleased with that. This one wasn't really like the end of the world. It kind of made the experience a little bit more authentic. However, I would really recommend I would still recommend the bus, but I would recommend either reading the post we wrote about it or watching the video, just so you're aware. I mean, we were kind of aware of most of the scams that were happening, so we knew not to be like, yeah. So, and actually that's a general tip. If you're ever going anywhere and you think you might be scammed, look up the typical scams and then don't get scammed. Okay, so number 4. This actually happened on the first day of our travels going out together. So about 3 years ago, so in 2013, Tambay and I had planned this amazing trip to Australia. We were going to house sit there, we were going to see kangaroos and koalas, and we planned it for months. We were really excited. Got to the airport, and the woman behind the counter said to Tambay, "This isn't a passport." And I said, "Are you crazy? He's flown on this before. We've flown to Germany, we've flown to Ireland, we've flown all over Europe with this. What are you talking about?" And she was like, "No, it's a European identity card." And we had no idea. Neither of us realised. We just assumed that because Tambay had been always flying on it, that it was his passport. And Tambay had always made a joke because the European identity card is like this kind of, it's like just a card, it's just a laminated piece of card. And he'd always made a joke because my passport has obviously got loads of pages, and he was like, "Oh, mine's so much better, I don't have pages, it's not as heavy, ha ha ha." And in the end I had to get on the flight by myself. Well, I didn't have to, but I did. And poor Tambay had to stay in England and then go and get his passport. So actually go and get an actual passport. He didn't have a passport. So again, that was really horrible at the time, and that was my first flight I'd taken by myself, and I went all the way to Australia. But afterwards, he got there in the end, and it was fine. Passports are really, I think a lot of people it's like a common mistake. Lots of countries won't let you into their country if your passport isn't 6 months, if it doesn't have 6 months in. That's not right. They won't let you in if your passport expires within the next 6 months. So, for example, my passport expires in 5 years or something, so I'm fine. But if your passport says, oh, in less than 6 months you need to replace me, then a lot of countries won't let you in. So make sure you check that before you go, because otherwise you can't go, and that sucks. Okay, number 3, the 3rd worst thing that ever happened to us on our travels was getting food poisoning in the Philippines. Completely our fault, completely ruined everything. It's so annoying. So the first time we broke the golden rule, and basically the golden rule when you're in places like Asia is don't eat meat, don't drink ice, and don't have rice that's not cooked properly. And in one meal we had rice, chicken and ice, and we didn't see how the chicken was cooked. We were on the beach, and it was just so stupid. We shouldn't have eaten any of those things. We ate all of them, we didn't think about it. And then all night we were just really ill. The place we were staying at, it said it had air conditioning, and it did for just about 3 hours a day. And then for the next 24 hours we were just led in bed, just really ill, and it was so disgusting. And what made it even worse was about a week later Tambay got a second load of food poisoning, and that time it was just from fruit that hadn't been washed properly. So again, that was our fault for not making sure it was washed properly. But yeah, top tips for food poisoning: really avoid the water in Southeast Asia. You know, always drink bottled water, always brush your teeth with bottled water, clean fruit with bottled water. Watch how things are prepared. So if there are a lot of women and children at a stall, then you can kind of assume it's safe to eat there. But if it's just kind of big tough looking guys, then maybe not. Also try and make sure that it's cooked really hot. So if you can see them cooking it, it's obviously hot. It hasn't been laying around. It's not cold. Okay, number 2, the second worst thing that happened to us. This was again in Australia, and it was Tambo breaking his arm. So it was New Year's Eve, and for those of you who don't know, you're not allowed to drink in Australia, outside that is. You're not allowed to drink on the beach or anywhere that isn't a bar or your house. Anywhere where you're outside. And of course it was New Year's Eve and we were drinking because we didn't know you were not allowed to drink outside in Australia. And it started to rain, and as we came off the beach there was a bit of sand on the concrete, and with the rain and with Tambo being really drunk, he slipped and fell awkwardly onto his arm, and it was so big. We had to go to hospital. Again, in the end it all worked out fine. That Australian hospital at the Gold Coast was amazing. We were really lucky because we had insurance, otherwise it would have cost us, I don't even know how much. Yeah, and it was a clean break. It wasn't like the bone was out of the skin or anything. I'm sure it was painful, but it could have been a lot worse. Okay, number 1. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to us on our travels. And I should say me, because it only happened to me. Tambo wasn't there. I went on a school trip to China when I was 17, and basically I got put in quarantine. So this was around the time of swine flu, if anyone remembers swine flu. It was a kind of a big epidemic, and it was really scary, and everyone thought we were going to turn into birds or something, I don't even know. Basically, I was in China for 2 weeks. The first week we were in Beijing, the second week we went to go to Shanghai, and at the end of the first week we had a kind of party, and one of the boys in my group had a glow stick that got broken, gave him a nosebleed, and suddenly they thought we all had swine flu, and we got put in quarantine because of that. Again, it all turned out fine, obviously. The first night was awful. I was so scared, and we didn't really know what was going on. Nobody really told us anything. We were supposed to get on this bus, and the bus just didn't turn up. And then a few hours later, when it was getting dark and there was no electricity in the building we were in and no water, and our guide turned up, and he said, he was really drunk, and he said, "Don't worry guys, if you're gonna die, I'm gonna die first." And you know, I was 17, I was just like freaked out. And then we got to the hotel and we were all a bit upset. I say hotel, yeah, the quarantine was actually a hotel, and the whole area was quarantined. Anyway, we got to the quarantine/hotel place, and we were all a bit upset, and I'd been crying, and I had this big temperature because I'd been crying, and they were like, yeah, she's definitely got swine flu. But then by the morning it was fine. You know, we were all in this hotel together, and they fed us really well. The American embassy turned up, they brought us McDonald's, and they sat us all, there was about 30 of us in this place, and they got us in a room and they said, you know, we can get you some laptops, you know, if anyone absolutely has to have a laptop, who needs a laptop? Everyone put their hand up, and very, very modern. So yeah, looking back on it now, I just think it's a funny story, and I think that about all of our bad stories. So yeah, I hope they entertained you. Okay, so just to reiterate my point from the beginning, I don't think anything should put you off from travelling. You know, you could walk outside at your home in your hometown and be run over, or you know, a meteorite could come, and like I said, it is when stuff does go bad abroad, it does feel worse, because obviously you don't often speak the same language, or you can't use your phone or your card or whatever. Ultimately, it really is part of the experience, and like I keep saying, it makes the best stories. Maybe because our good stories are boring, I don't know. But everyone always enjoys my quarantine story, and I hope you guys did too. So if you did, give us a like, comment below, tell us which one of those situations sounds the worst, or if you've been travelling and bad stuff's happened to you, what was it? What happened? Are you okay? Please let us know. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you tomorrow for more travel-y stuff.